So they start trying to, find ways to look into him. And as they're trying to find ways to look into this guy, they also find out that his dad was a criminal. They found out that when his dad was about 48, like the James Sr., when James Sr. was about 48, he also got arrested and charged on a 4th degree and a 2nd degree for assaulting and assailing a minor. 2 minors.
Wow. Whoa.
2 minors. One was very young, probably like 12, 13, and the other one was like 15, 16. So they're like, no. You guys are suspicious AF. So they're like, okay. They look into them. They start trying to, I guess, catch ways to get them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because they don't have enough reasonable suspicion to go and be like, we want to search your house or we want to arrest you. They don't have any of that.
Well, they don't have enough evidence to go to a judge to get
anything,
a warrant to go search their house.
Well, anything, to do anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So meanwhile, they start investigating them. They get the information from the app bag. And they find out that April kind of like was running around in circles at some point in the woods. There was 2 points in time where she was running around in circles. And the last period of time before her phone broke, she was going at a really fast speed, maybe like 18 miles an hour type of timing.
Which she could not sprint.
Not exactly.
Yeah, she can't sprint 18 miles an hour.
So they were like, hold on.
Unless she's like really like damn near Usain Bolt speed, but like for a 14-year-old girl, that's most likely not the case.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with her dog.
Yeah. So definitely has something to do with that bike.
It has something to do with the bike. So they're like, okay. They finally find a way to get into James Sr. and James Jr.'s house. Mm-hmm. They use the fact that they sell weed against them. They looked into, who in the family has a weed growing, selling license. And they find out that James Sr., James Jr., and the mom have weed selling and weed growing licenses. And they're only entitled to 36 plants of weed.
Okay.
So, they kind of go on like, we're just randomly searching to see if you guys are following the rules type of timing. And they find out that they are growing more than 36 plants of weed in their home. Figures, right? Figures. Nothing surprising. So that's when they're like, okay, great. Because you guys are breaking the rules, we're going to arrest you.
Yeah. And then now that you arrest them, now that gives you grounds to then say, well, we have these criminals here that we think.
Well, they were already criminals.
No.
They were
so
already criminals.
We have these already convicted criminals
Not funny, but
that are now doing another crime that we also feel like are connected to this crime. So now give us something so we can go search their house.
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
And that's literally the grounds that they went on to a judge to be able to go in and search the house.
Yeah. Which is clever by the police. Clever.
Yes. Oh.
Yeah.
They got the tricks up their sleeves. Mm-hmm. But they go in, they got the warrant, and the mom is pissed. The mom is like, you guys are horrible. You guys know they're innocent and they're not doing anything. You guys are just coming here to try and pin this on us, So, but meanwhile, while they're investigating and looking into the house, James Jr. and James Sr. are arrested. They're in jail. So they're looking into everything, obviously without them there, only the mom and James Jr.'s girlfriend. And they go into James Jr.'s bedroom and they're like, this is disgusting. This is nasty. They look, and the house, that part of their house was weird. It was running on a generator. Which is odd. There was a bucket of water, like a big, some big bucket of low buckets. They had a big bucket of that in the bathroom full of water. Mm-hmm. There were clothes hanging over the bathroom, over the shower. And the clothes that were hanging over the shower were the same clothes that James Jr. showed the detectives. So they're like, why are these clothes hanging over the shower? This makes no sense.
Yeah, they were sanitizing.
They were sanitizing. Exactly. So then they look
into the rest of the house. But it's weird. Like, why is that part of the house running on a generator, though? Like, what the?
It gets wild. It gets wild. I'm telling you. So they're like, okay, this is disgusting. They start looking into everything. part of his desk, he had a desk with a computer on it. And the desk was full of bottles of like soda and socks and tissue paper and old food that was smelling up the place. So they started talking to, obviously, the mom and the girlfriend. The mom is like, hey, my son didn't do anything. She's never going to talk. She's never going to say anything.
Yeah, she's not budging.
So the girlfriend's like, yeah, ha 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 ha, yeah, my boyfriend, ha ha ha. A few hours into them interrogating the girlfriend, she kind of breaks a little. And she's like, all right, I'm going to tell you guys the truth. Because you guys are here, I feel safe. Because James Jr. is not here, I feel safe. I feel like I can leave. And they're like, leave? Apparently, James Jr. met the girl when she was 19 and he was 27. It's a pretty big age gap considering he was a little bit more older and she was like very young and very fresh into probably adulthood and life. So they were like, okay. She starts telling them he was very nice at first. He was very kind, very loving. And then he just became controlling and evil. And he would talk to her crazy and he would hit her. He would take away her phone. She would never had a phone. She didn't have a license. She didn't have an iPad. She had nothing. Like zero. And James Jr. would control her. James Jr. would go and look at her Facebook that she would log into on his computer. So they looked into, they asked her, do you know the password to the computer? And she was like, no. He doesn't let me use it. I don't know. So then they're like, interesting. They take the computer with them. And obviously they take more things with them, the clothes. They see the helmet. They see a helmet. And that helmet was sitting in, it was like probably near a window. But then they remembered this helmet was used in one of the descriptions.
Yeah.
That the guy was wearing a helmet, the same color. When they look at the helmet apparently had some like little microfibers and streaks. Like, you know when you clean the mirror and there's like little puffy things left over, and sometimes if you don't clean it well enough,
there's streaks. Yeah.
It looked
also
just
microfibers like from like a cleaning cloth.
Or a towel.
Yeah, towel, yeah.
So they were like, that's interesting. So he literally grabbed all that stuff and took it. Plus the witness of the testimony of his girlfriend, who was, I guess, being partially held captive because she didn't have contact to the outside world. She didn't have a phone, like we mentioned before. She just was there with him. Oh, and the reason why that part of the house with James Jr. and the girlfriend ran on a generator was because that's what he used to control her. So whenever he would leave, he would immediately just turn the generator off. So he would be in the house, he would turn the generator on, the lights would work, the toilet would work, everything would work. But then when he left, he would turn the generator off. And there'd be no lights, the toilet wouldn't work, she'd have to flush the toilet with water from the bucket, things like that.
What? But why? Like, what did they ever reveal? Like, why? Or he's just a psychopath.
He's just abusive. He's just a weird, abusive man. So now, days later, they're trying to get a written confession from the girl, the James's junior girlfriend, and she ends up telling them that she knows that he did it. He basically, when the police officers left that first day, they went over to his house to question his family. Once the police detectives left, he told his family to basically just, if anyone ever asked, on July 24th, he wore those K-Swiss sneakers. And she was like, what? She was like, why? What the fuck? But she kind of, because he was so abusive, she kind of didn't question him because she knew that he would like hit her or, abuse her in a way. And she was kind of like, I better just not say anything and just keep it to myself. So when days before he got arrested, he told her, he said, if you ever say anything, if you like cooperate with the police, I'm bringing you down with me. She was like, fuck. But because he got arrested and kind of everything worked out, that's when she ended up telling the police and, all that stuff. But then now with the written statement, she ended up telling them, hey, James Jr. told the police that he was in Armada that the day that April died. But he went from Armada back to his house and then back to Armada to pick up his sunglasses. But his girlfriend confirmed that that was a lie, that he never came back home for his sunglasses. And he got home at 8 p.m. So he was acting really suspicious. And that same day that he came back home, she apparently was able to see her Facebook from his mom's iPad. And when she saw what was on Facebook, he showed it to him. And what she ended up seeing was April's, like, girl dies in Armada memorial type of newsy thing that ends up on Facebook. Like, you know, when someone dies and everyone's like sharing it.
Yeah.
She saw that and she showed it to him. He literally just read it. So James Jr. just read the article and was like, here, and gave her back the iPad. Didn't say anything. She was like, huh. And then the next day on July the 25th, he told her to do some laundry. She's like, you've never asked me to do laundry before. And he gave her the clothes that he wore that day. And then to confirm it, she was like, I know he wore his favorite pair of sneakers, his Jordans. There's like a pair of Air Jordans that were his favorite. And he ended up wearing them the day that he killed her. But when the police went to the apartment, they couldn't find those sneakers.
Well, not apartment, his house.
Well, his house,
Yeah.
apartment. But when the police went to his house, they couldn't find them. So,
Yeah.
But she confirmed that he was wearing them. So they were like, where is it?
Yeah.
So that's what was interesting.
So that's how they know for a fact, because they know that the sneakers that was the imprint that was on April were Jordans.
Well, they didn't know what type of shoe it was. They just knew that the imprint had this like little zigzag type of.
Oh, okay. So then when she said that
so,
shoe and they probably checked it, then it's like, oh, that matches. So that's how we know she's telling the truth.
That's how we know she's telling the truth, because
snap.
why would she lie about that?
Yeah.
So then afterwards, after getting her written statement, they end up receiving the information from the app. And remember, we had said this before, like they received the information from the app, but they received like the video confirmation of like how the app looked that day that she was using it. Okay. And we mentioned before that she was running around a lot in circles. But what was insane was that you saw her taking her normal path, and then as she's walking, she kind of deviates off a few times. As normal when you're walking with a dog, you know, the dog wants to pee, wants to go sniff here, you kind of like zigzag a little bit. But she went into the trail. She went into the woods twice. The first time she went into the woods and went around maybe like for maybe 5 minutes, and then she came out and was walking. Afterwards, after walking in the trail for a little bit longer, she ended up in the woods again. But she was in the woods for 15 minutes. And then from there, the phone, the app tracked her going at 18 miles an hour. Those 18 miles an hour were very, very important, because that's how you can also see where the phone ended up, in the same like little bushy ditch area where the cops and the dog found it in. So the app literally just confirms everything. Yeah. That she did. And it also shows like the police ended up timing it out where they saw, okay, after running the first 5 minutes inside of the woods, running in circles, and then getting onto the trail, she messaged her boyfriend, Austin, and told him, hey, I almost got kidnapped. So what ended up happening was that they found out that she ended up being chased by whoever killed her, and then got out, texted her boyfriend, and ended up back in the woods. And then no one ever heard from her again. But what's funny is when she was being chased the second time, she made a phone call 3 times. And it was to this random number that they couldn't figure out what the number was. And in the court documents, that never appeared. They never said anything. Whose number she was calling, it was just this like mystery thing. Okay. So now the police are just trying to find any ties that, you know, there might be between James Jr. and April, but they couldn't find anything. James Jr. is like in his like mid to late 30s. April was like very young teen. So they're trying to figure out, okay, like who is it? Like, what's the connection? And the only connection that they found was that James Jr. had a 14-year-old son that went to the same school that April went to. But it was just this big coincidence. Like, they couldn't find anything else. No text messages, no similar contacts or people that know each other, nothing. And that's what was insane to the police, was like, why would he kill her then? What was his motive if they didn't know each other? So then now they start digging deeper and looking further into, James. So now they start looking, like, they start trying to really finalize and hone in on everything with James while he's still in jail. They're trying to figure all that out. So they're trying to get all the evidence together and figure everything out. But because they couldn't find the sneakers, which was the tying piece of evidence of everything, because the detectives couldn't find the sneakers at James Jr.'s house, they ended up kind of like taking they ended up taking James's girlfriend's word for it and just looking up the sneaker and ordering it in the same size that he was. So they got the sneaker and they matched the print on April's body to the shoe, to the bottom of the shoe, and it was the same.